Hey guys, it's Luke here from LT Gaming, and I'm back with another Should You Buy of Gunner Heat PC in Early Access. Now I'm going to break this Should You Buy into two sections. First, I'm going to do an analysis of what is currently available and what you get when you buy the game in Early Access. Then I'm going to take a look at the planned roadmap and open a discussion on the potential of the game. Like any Early Access title, this does come with a risk, but everything points towards the developer at Radiant Simulations being able to achieve their goals. If this is the case, then this is going to be a very exciting project. So first of all, let's get some of the stuff out of the way. Drop down below, like, subscribe and comment. We appreciate all of your interaction, and we're building an absolutely great channel and community here. So both myself and Tom really appreciate that. Now we've got that out of the way, let's describe the game. So I'm going to take a basic description. Gunner Heat PC will blend game and simulation in just the right amounts, providing awesome fire control and ballistic simulation behind deceptively simple controls. This core feature set serves as the foundation for a rich single player campaign mode, skirmish missions and cooperative multiplayer modes. So breaking that down, essentially this is a tank simulation that we've all been waiting for. The genre has been really heavily neglected in recent years, and this game will have a lot of anticipation behind it. And today I want to see if that is warranted and what exactly you get right now and what you will get in the future. So let's discuss pricing. The base price of the game will be $29.99 US with a 10% discount available at launch. The discount will last a full week, so it's my intention to outline whether you should buy into the early access of Gunner Heat PC as a consumer. A few more facts about the game before we start. It's going to try and be an approachable simulation game around modern mounted combat, and it is available on the 6th of September. Gunner Heat PC is one of the most successfully funded games on Patreon, and it has more than 5,000 patrons. It's currently also one of the most wishlisted games on Steam, and I think it has around 80k, and I think considering that the team is a very small, of only 5 individuals, that's very impressive. So the game is carrying some weight behind it. I think we need to discuss exactly what you get right now when you buy into the early access of Gunner Heat PC. At the moment, there is a series of instant action scenarios and a rudimentary campaign system. Now, the instant action scenarios have been added to since the demo, and there are some really impressive ones that I've enjoyed. To be honest, I have mostly enjoyed playing as a single tank in some of the hunting missions. That's been really fun. And I've lately, as I've played more, I've branched out into some of the bigger operations, and they can get quite chaotic. A lot of fun, a lot of intense action. I've been looking around, where are the shots coming from? How do I return fire? Taking out tanks left, right and centre. It definitely is a fun game. I'm going to say that right from the start. The gameplay is tense, difficult and extremely exciting. Some of the larger tank battles, as I said, are awesome, but the only downside is at the moment, and we should probably expect this, there are some serious performance issues. I'll get into that in a little bit. One of the great things about this game is the simulation of the damage, and it's really intense. So I remember I was in one particular large tank battle, and when I hit the enemy tank, I saw the damage report said, I hit the driver's brain. So that is the kind of level that this game is going into when simulating damage, and it's really fun. So when you have your after action report at the end of the battle, you can go through each of the shots that were taken by yourself, your AI allies, and the enemy, and you can see what damage was done, who was hit, and exactly the trajectory of all of your shots. It's a really cool mechanic, and it is a unique selling point for this game. The damage modelling is very impressive. Alright, let's talk about the graphics in the game. And firstly, I want to talk about the unit models, which are absolutely excellent. I spent a lot of time in the free camera mode by pressing F3, just looking at my M60. The reason I love this tank is because I played a lot of Steel Armor Blaze of War. It's an absolutely awesome, if a little dated, tank simulator, but I'll leave a link to that game in the description. You should check it out on Steam. Some of the other tank models in the game include the M1 series battle tank on the NATO side, the M60 that I've talked about, the M113 fully tracked armoured personnel carrier, and the M2 Bradley, which is a lot of fun to play as. On the opposing side, you have the T-55, the T-72, the BMP, and the BRDM amphibious recon vehicle. There are some others that float around, but they are the primary ones that I've either played as or gone up against in the instant action scenarios. So they are all modelled absolutely brilliantly, and I'm very excited about that for the future. Now, the actual graphics of the game itself, the terrain, it is fairly good. I have had some pop-in, and I've had some problems with the view distance a little bit, and as soon as I tried to pump the graphics up, I suffered some fairly bad performance drops. Those performance drops are particularly noticeable if you have multiple allies when you play, and it is a little bit disappointing that my computer really dropped at points to below 30 frames per second. It just wasn't good enough. However, let's place that in the context that this is early access and they will improve the optimization of the game. Or let's hope that they do, because that really does need some work. But overall, the graphics are pretty good, I would say. They're nice and clear, they're quite colourful. The forests are very green, and I think it stands out very well. But as I said, the stars of the show here are the tank models. Let's move on and have a discussion around the sound. Now, the music is fairly generic. It's quite tense. I'm not going to go into that too much because I think they will probably improve on that. And the sound effects are very loud. It's one game where I've had people come up and tell me, Luke, can you turn that down? It's way too loud. And you can be sat there waiting for the enemy to engage you, and all of a sudden your tank explodes, and I think so do your eardrums. The game is very loud, and even the voice chatter in the game is loud, but it is good, and I think that at the moment it's serviceable and they will improve upon it. I want to go back and touch upon the performance issue in itself. I would say that some of the drops I have had have made the battles unplayable, especially the larger battles. Now, I don't have an amazing PC, but I don't have a poor PC either. I kind of sit in that middle territory. And I understand the game is early access, but I really do want them to improve the optimization. I have been in other early access projects that have released, and the game has still performed absolutely rubbish. So I really encourage Radeon Simulations to work on that optimization to make the game run well. When the game runs well, it looks great, it plays well, and it's a huge amount of fun. But when it slows down to under 30 frames a second, to me that becomes unplayable. And that is a little bit disappointing. So I do think they need to put some work into that aspect. But I'm sure they will, and for me, I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt. So I want to conclude what I think you get in early access and what the issues are. The game is extremely fun. It is the tank simulation that many people have been waiting for. It doesn't lean too hard into the simulation side and still has some arcade fun. The aiming is tense. You're trying to hit the enemy AI and they're firing at you, and they're pretty accurate, and the game is very difficult. So if you're a person who gets easily frustrated, maybe it's not for you. I have replayed some of the quick battles 10 times in a row, trying different tactics, different approaches, hiding in the forest, all sorts of different things. And for me, that's fine. I love repeating things. I love simulations, and that is part of the appeal. The battles are fun, like I said, the very explosive, crazy sound effects, and if you can get a big battle running well, it's a huge amount of fun, very immersive. I really enjoyed myself. One of the issues I had was spotting enemy tanks. They tend to spot you first, and if they hit you first, then you're dead. So I think spotting could be improved, and part of that is the very bright graphics, I think, cause issues. Now, there are a lot of instant action battles in this, and a rudimentary campaign. But to give this game longevity, it's going to need more. I played in my first session for around 2 hours, and then I'd had enough. Now I came back to it the next day and put another 4 hours into it, really enjoyed myself, but I can see myself getting bored of these instant action scenarios. They are all just a slight variation of the last one. Now you might play as a different vehicle, or have a bigger platoon with you, but you are still just doing the same things in each one. I also found navigation a bit of an issue. The maps aren't too good, they need improving, and there is definitely a lot of work to do here. So at the moment, longevity is not the strong point of this game, and I think they have to add a lot to this. If they stick to their roadmap, which I'm going to go over, then we should be in a good place with this game. But it needs a lot of work, and that is something to consider right now if you want to buy in. If you are like me, a military fan, a fan of simulations, then this is a definite should you buy from my perspective. If you are on the fence and you're more of a casual player, or you get frustrated very easily, I think you should probably wait. If they do come through on all the promises I'm going to outline in the next section, then this is an absolute buy and probably one of the best game releases of the year. But, let's relax. This is early access. We've been here before. There's other projects that I've even covered on the channel that have never followed through, and that's a big problem, right? However, I will say at this moment in time, given everything that I've gone over, and I've been pretty critical on the game myself, there's a lot of fun to be had here for $29.99. And I think that given that it's going to improve, I think you should go out and get it. Given my conclusion on the early access proposition, I thought that it was wise to go over what they are planning to add in the early access and beyond roadmap for Gunner Heat PC. Right, this number 1 would solve a lot of the problems, so adding a basic campaign. Now they want continuity between missions, basic mechanics that determine starting positions, and a save load in progress campaigns. I think that adding a decent campaign would solve some of the longevity issues that I see in the initial authoring, and it's extremely important that they get this right. I think having that dynamic system moving from battle to battle will definitely make you more invested in your current platoon or the tank that you are using, and I think it's vital they get this completely correct. So, number 1, basic campaign. Let's see that happen, and let's hope that it's good. Moving on to number 2 and 3, fire support. So they want fire mission call-ins, aircraft flyovers, and mission queue mechanics. I love fire support in games, right? I have a thing about calling down airstrikes, artillery strikes, and there is an artillery strike available in this version, and it looks pretty impressive. But I would like to see a lot more support on the battlefield to make it more dynamic. Aircraft, strikes, all that sort of thing would make this truly entertaining. Moving on to infantry. So at the moment, the infantry is very bare bones. Occasionally, you'll be driving along in your tank, and a guy will pop out the woods, fire a missile at you and blow you to bits, and that seems to be what happens at the moment. But what they want to deliver are troops that can dismount from vehicles, independent infantry squad behaviour, basic garrisoning, and deployable heavy weapons, which would make the game a lot more fun dealing with the infantry aspect and having infantry support for your armoured column. In part 4 of the roadmap, they want to add the Soviets, or basically more bad guys, let's say, and they want to add a suite of Russian service assets, Russian voice crews, and the ability to play as a Soviet platoon. I mean, the more assets they add to the game, the better, so I think that's a given. One of the things that would add great immersion to the game would be a more detailed crew. So a crew workload split into stations, crew animations, and also crew postures while mounted. This would greatly add to the immersion and currently is definitely missing and something that I really notice. In part 6, they talk about adding a suite of West German assets, once again German voice crews, and the ability to play as a West German platoon. These things are always going to be good, right? We're not going to say no to extra content. Now, part 7, very interesting. They want to add enhanced destruction. Now, I have found in the game in early access, the destruction mechanics are pretty cool looking. You have turrets blowing off, fires breaking out, but they could definitely use with more visualization of the damage on the tanks. So this would offer new pyrotechnic VFX, structural damage visualization, and vegetation destruction. Now, I didn't touch on that in the review, but that's actually a good point, where in this you can just drive into a tree and nothing will happen. The AI in some of my battles just will repeatedly drive into a tree, and the tree just sits there. The tank does nothing to it. And you just basically drive right through terrain as well. So the enhanced destruction aspect with better vegetation and impacts and an effect on the terrain would make the game a lot better. Part 8, very important. If they add a basic campaign, it would be great to see it expanded. So they'll have recon and logistics objectives, a dynamic front line, and tactical advantage and favour mechanics. So for me, like I said, if they really want to get the longevity of this game, they need a much better single player campaign with a lot more going on. Now, it's early access, so we're going to give them a chance to do that, but it is definitely needed, and I'm very happy to see that they are going to add a basic campaign and then expand on that with more mechanics later on. And finally, Part 9, Multiplayer. This game, with its perfect balance between arcade and simulation, is tailor-made for either co-op or competitive multiplayer. I'm not even a fan of competitive multiplayer, and I would still like to see it in this game. It would also help to fix that longevity problem. If we have a basic campaign and an expanded campaign with multiplayer aspects on top of that, we have one of the best tank simulations I think probably ever made will be delivered to us. So in conclusion, it's a very ambitious roadmap, but Radiant Simulations seem to have the drive and passion behind them to deliver it, and I'm truly hoping that they do. Right guys, I've been Luke from LT Gaming. Gunner Heat PC, I'm having a lot of fun with this. I really do think it's something you should consider, especially given the ambitious and exciting roadmap. Make sure to like and subscribe, and as always, I'll catch you on the next one.